Imagine a profound truth, whispered not through ancient texts, but through the raw, untamed heart of nature itself. A truth about what can and cannot be truly changed. This isn't just a story about a man and a beast. It's a cautionary tale echoing from a forgotten coastal village about the irreversible nature of instinct and the perilous illusion of control. Listen closely, because this lesson might just change how you view the world around you. In a quaint village by the sea, where the salty breeze carried tales of the ocean and the rhythm of waves dictated daily life, lived a fisherman named Kale. His days were a monotonous loop of mending nets, braving the deep azure, and bartering his catch at the bustling harbor. While the other villagers returned to homes filled with laughter and kin, Kale returned to an empty cottage, its silence a constant reminder of his profound solitude. His only companions were the gulls that circled his boat and the vast, indifferent sea. The weight of loneliness was a silent, persistent ache in his soul, a void that no amount of fish or coin could ever truly fill. He yearned for something, anything, to anchor his spirit, to bring warmth to his solitary existence. One particularly uneventful morning, after a meager catch, Kale decided to journey to a neighboring village. This wasn't merely for better prices, but for a change of scenery, a temporary escape from the familiar, quiet desperation of his own surroundings. The path wound through a dense forest, dappled with sunlight and the chirping of unseen birds, then over rolling hills that offered panoramic views of the distant, shimmering sea. As he navigated a particularly secluded stretch of the forest path, a sight so utterly out of place brought him to an abrupt halt. Beneath the sprawling canopy of ancient trees, a man sat slumped, his face etched with despair, cradling something astonishing in his arms, a tiny, spotted tiger cub. Kale, his initial surprise giving way to an inexplicable curiosity, approached cautiously. The desperate stranger looked up, his eyes hollow, mirroring a hunger Kale knew well, though of a different kind. "Why?" Kale asked, his voice softer than he intended. "Are you here with such a creature?" The man's reply was a low, desperate confession. "My family, we haven't tasted food in 2 days. I am broken, penniless. This cub, it's all I have left to offer. Take my fish, good sir, and the cub is yours. I can no longer care for it. It will surely perish with me." Kale's heart, usually guarded, now wrestled with a potent mix of shock and compassion. A tiger cub? The very idea was preposterous, dangerous, completely against the natural order of things in a peaceful fishing village. Yet, a different thought, a spark of hope, ignited within him. Could this small, vulnerable creature be the answer to his unspoken prayers for companionship? Could it banish the pervasive gloom that clung to him like the morning mist? He imagined the cub, playful and dependent, filling his quiet home with a new kind of life. He saw a chance to nurture, to protect, to finally have something of his own to pour his affections into. Overriding his ingrained caution, Kale's deep-seated empathy won the battle against his common sense. With a nod, he made the exchange, handing over his day's catch, meager though it was, and gently, almost reverently, took the squirming tiger cub into his arms. He began his journey back, his basket now empty of fish, but his heart unexpectedly full, carrying not just a creature, but a fragile, terrifying hope. The return journey to his village by the sea was charged with an unusual energy. Kale clutched the tiny cub, feeling its soft fur against his chest, its small, rhythmic breaths a comforting presence. He knew the villagers would react, and not kindly. True to his prediction, the moment he stepped into the village square, a hush fell, followed by a ripple of gasps and whispers. A crowd quickly gathered, their faces a mixture of astonishment, apprehension, and outright fear. "Kale, what madness is this?" cried old Ilara, her hands clasped to her mouth. "A tiger cub? Are you touched by the sea spirits?" others clamored. "What in the name of the deep blue do you intend to do with a wild beast?" Kale, emboldened by his new purpose, offered them a reassuring, if slightly strained, smile. "I will raise it," he declared, his voice ringing with a conviction he hadn't known he possessed. "I will tame it. It will be my companion." The murmurs intensified, turning into outright warnings. "Kale, a tiger is a creature of the wild. Its nature is to hunt, to kill. No matter its size now, it is inherently dangerous." His dearest friend, another fisherman named Gareth, placed a hand on his shoulder, his brow furrowed with genuine concern. "Think, Kale, even a cub carries the blood of its ancestors. You cannot undo what nature has made." But Kale, blinded by the promise of alleviating his loneliness, simply nodded, his resolve unwavering. "Do not worry, my friends. I will be vigilant. I will train it with care and patience." He spent the rest of the day meticulously constructing a sturdy cage on his veranda, reinforcing it with thick planks and strong iron bars. He made sure it was spacious, comfortable, and, above all, secure. Each day, he diligently fed the cub fresh fish, a diet it relished, its small, sharp teeth tearing into the flesh with a primal efficiency that Kale chose to overlook. He spent hours talking to it, gently stroking its striped fur, teaching it simple commands like "stay" and "come." The cub, playful and curious, seemed to respond, nuzzling into his hand, purring contentedly. Kale christened it Shadow for its sleek, dark stripes and its quiet, almost ghostly movements around the cottage. As days bled into weeks and weeks into months, Shadow grew, not just in size, but in its bond with Kale. The initial fear among the villagers slowly softened into a reluctant acceptance, a testament to Kale's dedication and Shadow's apparent docility. He began to take Shadow on short walks through the village, the tiger now a lean, powerful juvenile, but still seemingly obedient to Kale's gentle commands. Some villagers, those less burdened by fear, would stop and admire Kale's bravery, marveling at the sight of a man walking a tiger on a leash. Others, however, would quickly retreat indoors, their distrust never fully fading, their eyes filled with an unspoken dread. Despite these mixed reactions, Kale felt a profound sense of purpose. Shadow filled the vast emptiness in his life, transforming his silent cottage into a place of bustling activity and genuine affection. The tiger became his shadow indeed, his constant companion, the one being that seemed to understand the quiet corners of his heart. Kale believed he had achieved the impossible. He had tamed the wild. He had bent the unyielding will of nature to his own need for love and connection. Years spun by, weaving an intricate tapestry of shared moments and unspoken understanding between Kale and Shadow. The small, spotted cub had long vanished, replaced by a truly magnificent creature. Shadow was now a full-grown tiger, a breathtaking specimen of raw power and untamed beauty. Its coat, a vibrant canvas of deep orange and black stripes, rippled with sinuous muscle beneath the sunlight. Its movements were fluid, silent, every inch of its being exuding an innate grace that spoke of ancient predatory lineage. Kale watched it with an immense, almost paternal pride. He had raised it, nurtured it, and, he firmly believed, tamed it. The daily routine had evolved. Shadow no longer resided solely within the cage. Its confines had become more of a sleeping den or a place of temporary restraint when Kale left the village. Kale, lulled into a false sense of security by years of peaceful coexistence, often allowed Shadow free roam of the enclosed veranda, sometimes even a supervised venture into the small fenced yard. He trusted Shadow implicitly, believing their bond transcended the inherent wildness of the beast. He would stroke its massive head, feeling the coarse fur and the hard bone beneath, gazing into its golden, intelligent eyes, convinced he saw not just an animal, but a loyal, devoted friend. He showcased Shadow's obedience to the occasional brave visitor, beaming with pride as the tiger would respond to his voice, settling calmly, almost regally at his feet. The tiger had become a legend in the village by the sea, a testament to Kale's extraordinary connection with nature. Or so the villagers whispered, some still with awe, others with a growing sense of unease. One crisp morning, with the promise of a good market day, Kale prepared for his usual journey to the neighboring village. He meticulously packed his freshly caught fish, now more abundant thanks to his years of experience. Before departing, he went to Shadow, who lay stretched out on the veranda, basking in the early sun. He spoke to it softly, reassuringly, as he always did. "I'll be back soon, my friend. Guard the home." He gently nudged Shadow towards the reinforced cage, a routine they had long established for his longer absences. The tiger, with a low rumble that sounded almost like a sigh, ambled into its enclosure, turning its powerful head to watch Kale secure the heavy latch. Kale double-checked the lock, a habit born of initial caution that had slowly faded into mere ritual. He bid Shadow a final farewell, convinced of its safety and, more importantly, its loyalty. Then, with his laden basket and a light heart, he set off on the familiar path, the winding route through the forest and over the hills, whistling a cheerful tune. The journey was long, often tiring, but he relished the solitude, the quiet anticipation of a successful sail, and the thought of returning to his unique companion. The market in the neighboring village was bustling, as always. Kale expertly haggled for prices, his fish selling quickly, each transaction a small victory. He allowed himself the luxury of a warm cup of coffee from a street vendor, savoring the rich aroma and the lively chatter around him. The day had been prosperous, and a contented smile played on his lips as he began his trek homeward, eager to share the bounty of his success, perhaps a special treat, with Shadow. The sun was beginning its descent, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, when Kale approached the winding mountain road, a notorious pass that cut through the rugged terrain. He knew this stretch well, its narrow curves and steep drops. But as he rounded a familiar bend, a sight of utter devastation brought him to a sickening halt. The mountain road was gone. In its place was an impassable wall of earth, rock, and uprooted trees. A massive landslide had struck, obliterating the path, burying everything under tons of debris. Panic, cold and sharp, seized Kale. He ran towards the edge of the collapse, shouting, but the sheer scale of the destruction was overwhelming. Other travelers, equally stranded, stood in stunned disbelief, their faces reflecting the same horror. Despite immediate efforts from the local villagers and any able-bodied travelers, it quickly became evident that clearing such a monumental obstruction would be impossible within a single day, or even 2 or 3. Days stretched into a horrifying eternity. The local authorities estimated it would take at least 5 days, possibly more, to make the path even remotely navigable. Kale's heart sank. He was trapped in the neighboring village, helpless, his mind racing back to his cottage, to Shadow. 5 days, 5 long, agonizing days. What would become of his magnificent tiger? He had left it in its cage, expecting to be gone only for a day. He had left no food, no water, only the expectation of his swift return. The image of Shadow, alone and vulnerable, gnawed at him relentlessly. Sleep became a luxury he could not afford, haunted by visions of his beloved companion growing weaker, hungrier, its majestic strength slowly ebbing away. The joy of his successful market day evaporated, replaced by a consuming dread that twisted his stomach into knots. He pleaded, he offered payment, he even considered dangerous alternative routes through the wilderness, but all were futile. The message was clear. There was no way through. He could only wait, each passing hour an agonizing tick of a clock counting down to an unknown fate. On the fifth day, with a frantic urgency bordering on madness, Kale joined the first work parties as they finally managed to clear a precarious single-lane passage through the landslide. He didn't wait for it to be fully safe. He scrambled over debris, driven by a primal need to reach his companion. The journey back was a blur of exhausting effort and mounting dread. Each step towards his village felt both agonizingly slow and terrifyingly swift. What would he find? Would Shadow be alive? Would it be injured, suffering, or worse? He burst into his quiet cottage, his lungs burning, his eyes scanning wildly. The familiar silence of his home now felt oppressive, heavy with foreboding. Then, in the dim light of the veranda, he saw it. Shadow was there, huddled in the far corner of its cage, a magnificent silhouette of dejection and suffering. Its once vibrant coat was dull, its powerful frame seemed shrunken, and its usually alert golden eyes were listless, clouded with a profound weariness. The tiger was alive, but barely. It hadn't eaten for 5 days. Its immense strength had been slowly, cruelly eroded by the relentless gnaw of starvation. A wave of overwhelming emotion washed over Kale, immense relief that Shadow was alive, coupled with a crushing guilt for the suffering he had inadvertently caused. His mind, clouded by love and desperate empathy, registered only the need to comfort, to nurture, to make amends. Without a moment's hesitation, without a thought for the years of warnings, for the inherent nature of the beast, he fumbled with the heavy latch. The metal clanged open, a sound that echoed ominously in the sudden silence. Kale, his heart overflowing with a reckless affection, stepped into the cage. He knelt before Shadow, his hands outstretched, his voice a soft, desperate whisper. "My friend. My poor, hungry friend, I'm so sorry." In that moment, the delicate veneer of domestication, so carefully cultivated over years, shattered like glass. The long days of hunger had awakened something ancient, something primal and unyielding within the majestic creature. The gentle companion Kale believed he had tamed was gone, replaced by the raw, instinctual hunter it was born to be. Shadow's head lifted slowly, its eyes, no longer listless, now gleamed with an unsettling, terrifying intensity. A low growl rumbled deep in its chest, a sound not of recognition, but of pure, untamed hunger. Kale saw the change too late, the subtle shift in its posture, the predatory glint in its eye. He saw the truth. In a horrifying, swift blur of orange and black, the tiger lunged. Its attack was not malicious, not born of hatred, but of a desperate, overwhelming instinct to survive. It was the unyielding law of the wild reasserting itself with brutal finality. Kale's compassionate intent, his years of devotion, his profound love vanished in an instant, swallowed by the savage, unchangeable nature of the beast he had tried so hard to deny. His life and the illusion of control he had cherished ended abruptly, tragically, a stark, heartbreaking testament to the immutable power of instinct. This devastating story, whispered through generations in the village by the sea, carries an indelible lesson that transcends time and place. It reminds us of a fundamental truth. Some things in life, like the inherent instincts of a magnificent tiger, simply cannot be altered, cannot be truly tamed. No matter how much love, care, or effort we pour into them, their core essence, their primal nature, remains unyielding beneath the surface. Just as a tiger's wildness can only be suppressed, never fully eradicated, so too do many aspects of life possess an unchanging reality. Individuals, relationships, or even certain situations may appear benign, even gentle for a time. They might adapt to your influence, respond to your kindness, or even mimic the behavior you desire. But under the right conditions, conditions of stress, deprivation, or perceived threat, their true, unvarnished nature will inevitably resurface, often with devastating consequences. The danger lies not in empathy itself, but in allowing emotion or sentimentality to blind us to reality, to override the natural laws or inherent truths that govern our world. Kale's deep-seated loneliness and compassion led him to ignore the explicit warnings of his fellow villagers, to defy the very nature of the creature he took into his home. He prioritized his emotional need over the undeniable truth of a tiger's instinct and paid the ultimate price. This is a powerful reminder that while kindness and understanding are vital, they must always be tempered with wisdom and an honest appraisal of reality. Whether dealing with a wild animal, a challenging human personality, or a difficult situation, it is paramount to accept things for what they truly are, not what we wish them to be. Sometimes the most compassionate and self-preserving action is to acknowledge the unchangeable, to maintain a safe and respectful distance, and to understand that not every void can be filled by bending the will of nature. The wild will always be wild, and its fundamental truths will always demand recognition.